interesting, this interview. Well, it's always hard to start an interview as it requires to find a starting point for the discovery of your inspiring work. But a choice needs to be made, and I would like to start by asking you, how would you define your art? I know it's a hard question, so let's put it in simpler words. What would characterize your work of art?
I would say my work is quite abstract, and I would say probably a little bit slash abstract expressionist a little bit, and then in terms of what I paint, in terms of what I go for, I think it goes for, it used to be sort of moments and sort of feelings that I experience and and what other people experience and tell me and say these things like that. But now I think it's based on feelings. I think now my work, I think now when I do it, I get into a bit of a zone, kind of into it, bit of music on, just doing whatever, and then just go from that, I think, and then trying to emulate. I say the best way, to explain it, the way I explain it, because when you have to apply for these galleries and apply for all the application stuff, they ask you the same question: how would you explain it? And the way I say, in the best way I can explain it, is to try and emulate feelings on art, on the feelings what you have through art. So in the best way possible. So, and perhaps in the sense of like when you have a feeling that you can't explain, that's the main thing. So being able to explain that feeling through drawing or painting or doing whatever, and then trying to represent it, and then hopefully that person can see that and be like, oh yeah, okay, maybe that's what I feel, maybe that's not what I feel, or yeah, whatever. That's probably the shortest way or the least complicated way I can maybe explain, and even then that was complicated in the way I was explaining it. So that's probably the best way I think I can explain it. It's difficult. I've had always trouble with it, but yeah, that's how it is for now, I think.
So when you paint, do you have any rules that you try to follow, or any kind of language that you have developed through time? I don't know, you're talking about doing abstract art.
Yes.
I will say something like silly, it's just an example. I want to express love, I will use red.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have any rules or any signals that will enable you to express some kind of feelings given a certain, situation?
No, not really. I think there's certain things that I do that maybe alters the work sometimes, as in, for instance, say I use pastels quite a lot. I use oil pastels, oil bars. Yeah. And that's what's it called? Snellia. I think what they're called. They're beautiful bars, lovely bars, but they're always running out. They're always, whenever I go to the shops, they're always running out. They're always not there. So sometimes you get to pick, because they're quite expensive as well. I sometimes get to pick 3 or 4, and then I go, oh, okay, so I'm going to work on these colours. I look at the colours and I try and work out which ones, say if I went for a pink and a blue and a weird grey and green or something like that. Like I would try to work those colours into, that's what I'm going to do for that day or the next day or whatever, and that's what I'm going to do. That's the only structure I have to the art, I think. Other than that, in terms of structure, it's all very spontaneous. I think the idea is what I do is because I have my job 9 to 5, I come home, make food, do whatever, then the rest of the evening is doing the art, thinking about whatever, listening to music, doing this, having this feeling. And then sometimes as well, the feelings can get really kind of like a bit mad. Like they can be like, I can get really into it. I'm like, oh, I need to, that's what, it can take me a little place. It's quite funny, it's a weird one, but I can get really deep into it, sort of thing. And then that's when I think I create really good work. Like a lot of the time, when I'm really deep into it, I'm not realising what I'm doing. And then I'll look at it afterwards and I go, oh, that's really good, that's nice. Done really well, man. That's actually good. I didn't realise I did that. And from that, I'll go on a little bit of a roll and I'll do a couple more and I'll do these and that. And then I'll go, oh, I'm in a really good row here. But then there's some other days where it'll be like, I'm doing a lot and I'm glad I'm doing it. I'm happy with it, but I'm like, oh, it could be better. It could be this. Maybe I'm not feeling it. Maybe there's not the right feeling or whatever. But I don't know. It's different for every artist. Like the guy I mentioned before, who I said was Stephen Anthony David's, his work. He explained to me that the way he would do it, he would be in the studio all day, literally every weekend, every afternoon, evening sort of thing. He'd be in the studio all day, just staring, doing little doodles, working on something, listening to music, maybe having a drink or something like that, just chilling. And then it would only be, usually for him, it would be like a burst. So whether it would be even midday or it was usually always for him in the evenings. And he'd just be there. He'd be in the studio all day, but then it'd just be a big burst in the evening and he'll crack out so many paintings and do all these things and do all these drawings. It was similar to what I was doing, but it was not identical, but similar. But there's a lot of people that work completely different. I know some people that work for hours on one painting and still, start again or do this or whatever. So yeah, for me personally, it's just, there's no structure. It's just, I put myself in that situation with the paint, with the paper, with the canvas, and then work out where I go from there.
So tell me if I'm wrong, if I try to summarize it. You try to some extent to express your feelings thanks to the Canva.
Yeah.
And then afterwards you get to realize what you did and you get to understand your work.
A little bit, yeah, definitely. There's definitely sometimes where I have an idea and I want to try execute something, but the problem is sometimes when I try focus on something too much, it doesn't work.
Okay.
I tried to do a painting recently of something that really inspired me, but it was very concrete. It was a friend. He made a chair basically. He made a chair out of this kind of clay, or I can't remember how he made it, and concrete. It was made out of concrete. That was it. And so I wanted to incorporate this chair into the painting, but I found myself doing it over and over and over again until I was happy. I was happy with it in the end, but I still felt that it could have been better. Whereas when I've done other things before that have inspired me, then I was like, oh, just keep on going with that, and then it comes off better. You know what I mean? So if I'm less focused on it, then I feel more comfortable, and but then I become so not focused, I don't realise what I'm doing, and then I turn the page and go, oh, what have I done? That's something. That's generally what it is. It's like it's not like a trance. It's just maybe I don't know what it is, but it's just something that comes over me that I have to do, and then whatever.
Okay. Would you say that it is like losing during a short period of time, like your sense of self, and you just express yourself?
Yeah.
Without overthinking about it?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think it's a little bit of that. It's a little bit of that, but it's also just everything's running. So everything's running, going on. Like it's like everything that I'm thinking about or thought about during the day, whatever, and all these things, and then it's all come to that one moment where I'm there with I don't know. It's like your most kind of, because you like I said, it's like a really raw thing doing it. It's like a really that's really amazing. It's like you become quite vulnerable. You become like that's it. You're really expressing yourself. That's yourself. I find it quite hard to explain myself. I quite hard to say how I feel, say all these things like that. But then when I'm with that and the paint and the stuff, then it's like that's what I really want to do. I want to do it regardless. That's what I do it for the end of time. I'd always want to do it non-stop. Like I know that. I can feel that. I feel like I've done it a lot of things. I used to do football. I used to do photography. I used to do graffiti and all these things like that. But when it's more painting or drawing, all these things, it's more important. I can feel it. You know what I mean? It's a bit of a weird one. I don't know. It's just very You become. It's more feelings. It becomes very. You become very submersed in it, which is nice. It was also horrible, but it's also nice. But yeah.
So when you talk about your art, you often talk about feelings.
Yes.
So I was wondering, how does your art connect with your personal experience?
Yeah. So my mum was an art teacher, and then her dad was a semi-professional artist,
Okay.
and he done really well. He done really well. He was knocking on a lot of the right doors. He was friends with, I can't remember who's, I think he was friends with Peggy Guggenheim's daughter. So she was friends with the Guggenheims and all that stuff. And then she was friends with someone else that was friends with this person and all these people. And then he was his big thing. He had to basically, I had a conversation with my mum about it the other day, because she's basically recently become some sort of counsellor, become some sort of therapist. So she's all very hard, calculate everything. What's the reason? What's all this stuff? And she said to me, and she goes, "Who are you trying to what's the word? To be like? Who are you trying to work like?" And so a lot of boys at me, it's always your dad. It's always trying to be your dad, and I love my dad, I always do. But for me, it's my granddad, because on my mum's side, because he was this big guy. Big character, chatty, funny, all these people, but what he did, so he was a teacher at college, done with his art stuff, and I'll show you some pictures. I'll send you some pictures later on. It's really amazing stuff, and he then decided, brilliant, it was just a genius idea, that he goes, "Oh, I'm going to move to the south of France," right? So he moves to the south of France. He buys a place in a place called Saint Mem, which is in Fort-Calquier. Okay. Near Marseille. Well, not far from Marseille. We used to fly in when we were little. And what he did every summer was he bought this house, and because he'd already established himself as being a quite good artist, he was always in the summer show in the RA. He had a few shows in Fulham when he was here and stuff. And then, so what he would do was, he would he'd go in the summer when it's all really nice, and where Saint Mem is so picturesque. It's hills, you can see everyone, these things, and it's really beautiful, and you can paint all of it. And then he would set up a school. That's what he'd do for the summer, and he'd invite all these people over that were from different backgrounds, from Fulham, from London, from up north, from France, all these things, and he'd teach them how to paint. And that's what he'd do. He'd set them up with an easel, give them a paintbrush, give them some oils, give them whatever they fancied, whatever they wanted for their work. And then he'd set them up to paint. The cheeky thing, what he did, was that, because obviously it's south of France, there's a lot of wine there, there's a lot of bars, was that he would set them up, and then he'd go sit in the bar for a couple of hours, whatever, and then come back. Well, maybe less than a couple of hours, but he'd go sit and enjoy himself, sit in the sun, and then come back and then be like, "Oh, this is this, and this could be this, and whatever." And then when the summer comes, he'd come back to England, and he'd just work some silly job. He'd be a postman, he'd be something else, or whatever. But he was obviously the painting and the painting side of it. That's what he really loved. That's always what he really wanted to do. He'd do it regardless of anything. And so him being able to come back just during the winter, being a postman, doing something else, doing something silly, just to then make enough money to then go back to the summer and earn a lot of money to live there with the people that he taught, was nice. I think that's definitely something that makes it very more personal to me, because I'm thinking, and also some of the paintings that he did were amazing. They're really abstract. That's why I get the abstract side from.
Okay.
My mum, her painting is more, it's kind of straightforward. She was very influenced by Hockney, David Hockney. So it's more quite straightforward, but there's still elements of kind of weird expressionist stuff. Like she did a painting recently where she painted a deer in the room. And it's because she keeps on seeing deers when she was going. She's moved to the countryside and she's living a nice life or whatever. And she keeps on seeing this. I think it's a monkjack. I think is what it's called. It's like a type of, I don't know, small animal thing that keeps running around. And she painted that in the living room. She painted the living room with it sat there in at the door, which I like, which is expressionist. So, in some ways or whatever. But but yeah, so then that's my personal side to it, I think.
Okay.
But I was also against that. Like I said, I always wanted to be like, oh, I'll be football, I'll be photography, I'll be whatever. I'm not gonna do painting. You all do painting. That's not me. I'm not gonna do painting. And then eventually, yeah, I'm going into painting, and then just done it naturally.
So when did you start?
My dad convinced me to go to art college when I was 18, and I went to art college. I didn't really do art.
Okay.
I'd always done drawing and little bits of painting when I was at home, but not much at all. And then I went to art college. Was with the college I was at. It was brilliant. Yeah, everyone was really arty. Everyone was like really fine art and stuff. But I was like, oh no, I want to do photography, and I was really into photography. And then did that. And then did the college. Went to uni in southwest London, and then it was all photography. I didn't really like that. It was like I was doing quite arty photography. It wasn't like straightforward, like whatever. I remember I did a photograph of, I was selling this the other day actually, a photograph of like, it was a policeman, and I was really into the whole, I think it was that time, it was a lot of the police brutality in America and this stuff, and I was really into that. I was really like obsessed with it. I'd watched loads of things about, I can't remember his name now. Yeah, and all these scenarios, and I basically got these photos of these guys and then wrote these sort of statements that they had made about the police officers and what they'd done, sort of thing like that. And I was getting really arty, and I was thinking, but I was in the uni I was in was really rugby. It was really like big rugby lads and stuff like that. And I was thinking, this is not for me. I'm not having it. And then so I decided to change and go to Camberwell in South East London in University of Arts, and did a fine art photography course. When you do fine art there and it's under photography, you actually don't have to do photography. So you basically you can do it under the bracket of photography, but you can do whatever you want. So you can paint, you can do all these things and do all this stuff, but it's just fine art, really. It's not photography. It says photography, but at the end of the day, it's fine art. That's why my mum jokes about it, because she goes, oh, you got a photography degree and you don't even do photography anymore, don't take any photos and that stuff. And I was like, yeah, but that was when it really went off. Like I was doing little things, but it wasn't enough. And then, so that was maybe 2017 was when I started Camberwell, I think. So since then, I did a bit of photography, and then I started spraying. Started using spray cans loads. That was my thing. I was going into. That was really like, oh, spraying that. I did that for 3 years. I did sculpture in the way of it. I got all these used objects. I got a sofa that I found in the street. I cut it up, done all these things and sprayed on it. I've done all these things. Then got a big sheet of metal, wood, chairs, all these things, and did all these. Like, I really was getting into that bit, and I want to get into that more. Sculpture bit, that was really fun. I really enjoyed it. But then, come out of uni. Well, 2020 was my last year, and then lockdown happened, and it's quite hard to spray in your room when you're all these cans and stuff. So I was thinking, oh, but I need to do this stuff. I have these feelings. I have these like, I need to do it. And then I saw someone who'd done graffiti, and he was practicing his graffiti with pastels. And then I was like, oh, I could do that. And then I started doing that, and then it just went off. And I was in lockdown for ages, doing your run in the morning, and then for your 15 minutes out, and then coming home and then just drawing all this time, just all these pastels, all these things. My room now is mental because it's stacked of everything I've done. But that's how I got into it, I think. With all the background with my mum and my granddad and all that family stuff. It was always going to happen, I think, but that's how I got into it. So it led into the way I draw now and the way I paint now, I think.
Okay.
Which is nice.
And do you think that your background in photography and sculpture influence to some extent what you are
Yeah.
currently doing?
Yeah, I think all of it influences it. I think the way I think is one day I want to incorporate all of it. I think there was a show by, I can't remember. I think it's Lubana Hamid. I think it is. Is at the Tate basically.
Okay.
And she's this beautiful painter. She paints so lovely, and she did these massive canvas drawings. It was a whole show dedicated to her. But you walked along, and you had, when you came in, you had these sculptures on the left hanging on the wall, and then you had these beautiful massive canvas paintings. Then you went around another corner and there was a sound installation, all this sound stuff. And then you went around another corner and then there was all these props and sculptures that she made. And then you kept on going another corner and there was more canvases and stuff. And I think that, to me, is a real artist. I think as in being able to express yourself on so many different mediums. And it doesn't matter whether you do it well or not. It's like you're really, really going into the depths of how you feel and what expressing yourself is, and being able to do silly paintings that perhaps don't look as good and don't do this stuff and just don't feel as well. That's really important. So the best way to do that is to express yourself through almost all the paint you could use, all the pastels, all the sculpture, all this whatever photography it is, to then realise what you're trying to say, I think. Like for me, like I've done the sculpture, done the photography, done graffiti, now I'm doing pastels. I still think that I've got so many levels to do. Like I don't do many big canvas work. I want to, I've done it a few times. I've done a few paper stuff, but I want to do more canvas work, and then I want to move into more paint, maybe even try oil paint, maybe try all of it, maybe like, you know, just then go back into sculpture or then incorporate photography or whatever. Yeah, so I think that has an influence on me, because it makes me being able to realise that I can't just be confined to a piece of paper, you know what I mean? I can just do whatever I want, and then it's also so many levels to what I can do whatever I want. Just keep on improving on each of those sides. I can get better at photography, I can get better at sculpture, I can get better at painting or whatever. So then you're just non-stop inspired. You're always going. You think, oh, I'm getting tired of doing the drawings all the time, so I can just, maybe I should try that and go through that bit and then work on that for 5 years and then produce whatever that is, and then it's just, you just keep on going, you can non-stop, which is nice, personally, for me anyway. Some people don't like that, some people really want it to be straight on and that's it.
That's inspiring. I'm happy to hear your point of view on the matter, but like one of the questions that I try to tackle in this blog is like how we could define a work of art. And like the thing about contemporary art is that it's abstract, but sometimes it's difficult to know, okay, is it a piece of art or not? And this is one of the questions that I try to tackle, at least to understand. Yeah. And I was wondering, like, what is your view on the matter? Like, how would you say that something deserves to be called a piece of art, and something else you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's it's difficult. I don't know. It's difficult. It is really difficult. I think being my mum, being the art teacher she is, and being very influenced by art, she used to take me to a lot of galleries and stuff like this, and used to see a lot of art stuff, and it did used to baffle me, because obviously she teaches art, she has all these expertise, and then she'd go, that's nice, I like the way you've done that, that's how it is. And I'd be like, I don't know, I'm not too sure about that, whatever. And then I go, well, that's really cool. And she goes, yeah, that's nice, whatever. But I'm like, but that's amazing. That's the best one. And so I think it's difficult. It is really difficult. I think you can get really strategic with it. You can get really calculated. And there's some people that are art critics and all this stuff, and they really depict the piece, I think. But the majority of the time it's the way I do art. It's the way people feel about it. If there's a community feeling of people looking at a painting and they go, oh, that's really amazing, and there's a lot of people that are saying that, then fair enough, then that's art. It should be, you know, I don't know. It's a £1 million question, isn't it? Really, how do you, if I'm honest, how do you value the works from other works? Which ones, if it's contemporary, if it's amazing, if it's this, if it's that, when really it's all the same. It's all like, as in, that person has given a feeling and they've created this beautiful piece of work. That should be the same as the next painting next to it, but it doesn't mean it always is. I don't know. It's interesting. I can't. It's difficult. I'm trying to answer the question, but it's a really difficult one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware that this question is difficult, and the thing is that I try to gather as many opinions as I can, and try to like summarize something or find the kernel of something.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really interesting talking to you. So I was wondering, would you like to say something to end this interview? Is there something that you want to share before?
Say anything. I don't know. I think in terms of, I don't know. I think I don't know. Just I'm pretty happy with what I'm doing now. I'm keep trying to push myself. Keep doing art as much as I can, almost every day, if not most of the time. And then just do as many shows. If you're an artist, do as many shows. Do as many shows as you possibly can, because that's the best thing you can ever do ever, and it always gives you good experience and and feedback and stuff. But yeah, no, I think that's pretty. I can't think of anything else to say.
Thank you so much. It was so nice talking to you.
Yes,
really
thank you so
inspiring
much.
conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Thank you.